Often, life feels like a continuous struggle that fails to deliver on its promises. You do what is right and cultivate kindness, yet the silence of the universe in the face of your pain remains deafening. In this moment of doubt, the question echoing from the depths of the soul is, does all of this truly have a meaning, or are we simply walking into the void? This disconnect between our desire for order and the silent chaos of the world is what Albert Camus called the absurd. Today, we will not seek false hopes or magical promises. We are going to look into the abyss with eyes of lucidity, discovering that it is precisely when we give up searching for a ready-made meaning that we find our true and radical freedom. Albert Camus, Nobel laureate and master of human sensitivity, understood that the universe is under no obligation to be just or logical. For many, this perception is an invitation to despair, but here, on our inner path, it will be the gateway to a strength you do not yet know. In his work, The Myth of Sisyphus, Camus presents us with a profound provocation. Is it possible to be happy in a world that seems to have no purpose? To answer this, we need to cross the desert of illusions and touch the face of reality. The awakening of consciousness is not about finding easy answers, but about learning to walk with integrity under the sun of truth. We are going to dive into this journey of presence and inner transformation. To understand this freedom, we must first look at the place where human desire trips over the silence of the world, the exact point where what we call the absurd is born. The absurd is born from the confrontation between the human cry for clarity and the irrational silence of the world. Imagine yourself before a mountain. You search for signs, you search for reasons for your exhaustion, but the stone remains just a stone. In contemplative spirituality, the absurd is not an error of fate, but the moment when the masks fall. It is when we realize that the soul hungers for an eternity that a physical routine cannot satisfy. Feeling this emptiness doesn't mean you are broken. It means you are awakening to the naked reality of existence. Camus teaches us that accepting this divorce between what we want and what the world offers is the first step towards silent wisdom. Deepening one's understanding of the absurd means recognizing the fertile void that dwells at the heart of existence. It is not a cold nihilism, but the realization that our thirst for the absolute encounters a finite world. By stopping the demand for life to explain itself, you open up space for pure presence. Like a temple that dwells in the silence of the heart, the absurd invites us to abandon the search for external justifications to finally inhabit our own living soul. It is in the recognition of fragility that true inner strength begins to pulse. But as we touch this strength, an almost inevitable temptation arises, the temptation to seek a quick way out, a consolation that restores the security of old illusions. Many of us, upon feeling the weight of meaninglessness, seek refuge in distractions or rigid dogmas. Camus calls this philosophical suicide, when we sacrifice our lucidity in exchange for fleeting comfort or magical promises. In the search for self-knowledge, the temptation to spiritualize pain with clichés is immense, but true emotional healing requires that we do not look away. As Krishnamurti taught, freedom begins when we stop running away from what is. Denying the absurd through illusions is like trying to light a candle in the wind without protecting the flame. True presence is born from facing the dark without fear of losing oneself in it. Philosophical suicide is the attempt to give a transcendent meaning to something that is, by nature, immanent. When we create celestial scripts to justify human tragedies, we stop living in reality to inhabit a sandcastle. Spiritual truth doesn't need makeup. It stands on the rawness of the now. Avoiding escape is a rite of passage toward emotional maturity. By refusing magic formulas and instant miracles, you become the guardian of your own consciousness, cultivating an inner listening that is not seduced by what is easy, but by what is true. When we renounce these escapes, what remains is our immediate reality, the daily task that, although it seems repetitive, holds the secret of our own transcendence. Sisyphus was condemned to roll a boulder to the top of a mountain, only to watch it fall back down again, for eternity. How many times has your life felt like this repetition? Waking up, working, getting tired, repeating. However, Camus makes a revolutionary statement. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. His happiness does not come from reaching the top, but from the mastery he has over every step of the climb. The secret of spiritual reconnection lies in transforming the weight of the stone into an act of consciousness. When you bring presence to the now, routine stops being a punishment and becomes a ritual of existence. The stone is only heavy as long as you wish it were something else. When you embrace it, it becomes part of your inner strength. This stone we carry, whether it is work, grief, or daily anxieties, is our sacred ground. The soul is in no hurry, it has rhythm, and Sisyphus's rhythm is the rhythm of life itself, renewing with every effort. By embracing the task without the expectation of the end, you dissolve the anxiety of the future. The mountain is not an obstacle to wisdom, it is wisdom itself manifested in effort and contemplation. It is in conscious repetition that the subconscious mind aligns with the being, transforming the burden into a dance of inner transmutation. This dance is not one of submission, but of sovereignty. It is the moment when the weight of existence stops being a punishment and becomes the fuel for our most sacred rebellion. For Camus, the response to the absurd is not passive resignation, but rebellion. Not a violent rebellion against others, but a vibrant affirmation that you will continue to exist, to love, and to create, even if the universe gives you no guarantees. This is the true inner transformation. It is the courage to be who you are, despite the circumstances. As in the Stoicism of Marcus Aurelius, we learn that our authority lies in our response to what we cannot control. Rebellion is the breath of the spirit that says, "I am conscious, and my consciousness is the sun that illuminates my own path." It is the moment when you stop being a victim of fate to become the master of your own living soul. To rebel is to say yes to life at the exact moment it seems to say no. It is an act of radical freedom that does not depend on external permission. In contemplative spirituality, rebellion translates as keeping the flame lit in the silence, a refusal to allow chaos to extinguish our internal light. You are not a passive victim of the currents of fate, but a navigator who, knowing the sea is indifferent, chooses the direction of their sails with ethical dignity. Rebellion is the frequency of gratitude applied to the battlefield of existence, where every breath is a victory of consciousness over nothingness. And it is in this silent victory that we discover a profound mystery. Peace does not come from conquering a great destiny, but from the beauty of inhabiting a now that needs no explanations. It may seem contradictory, but freeing yourself from the obligation to have a great purpose is what allows for true peace. When we stop chasing a future meaning, we can finally savor the sweetness of the present. This is what we call the fertile void, the space where the soul can simply be, without the pressure of spiritual performance. Camus invites us to a lucidity that is not cold, but passionate about life as it is. Like a river that flows effortlessly to the sea, you discover that the meaning of life is life itself happening in your hands, in kindness toward the now and in the deep listening of your being. Absurd happiness is the happiness of kindness toward the now, free from the handcuffs of why. By understanding that it is not what happens outside, but what vibrates inside, you regain power over your internal state. If the universe didn't give us a meaning, it gave us the brush to paint our own picture. The wisdom of living without appeals is the highest form of spiritual awakening, where joy is not a reward for having understood the mystery, but the very experience of walking in it with open eyes. You become the lamp lit in the dark, not because the darkness vanished, but because you learned to shine from your own essence. Reaching this point, we realize that Sisyphus's mountain and our own inner path are one and the same, a space of pure presence where silence finally becomes music. We have reached the point where Sisyphus's climb meets the soul's rest. Camus' lucidity does not take away our hope. It gives us back real life, without the chains of illusory expectations. Over the next few minutes, or at some point in your day, hold a small object in your hands. It could be a stone, a seed, or a cup. Feel the weight, the touch, the physical reality of it. Breathe deeply and recognize, I am here. The world is what it is, and I am free to walk in it. Let this active acceptance dissolve the tension in your chest. What if the absence of a ready-made meaning is, in fact, the blank page where you are invited to write your own and most authentic truth? If these words touched something inside you, perhaps it is time to take one more step on this path of reconnecting with your inner truth. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to continue receiving content that nourishes the soul with presence and authenticity. Share in the comments what resonated with your heart. Your story might be the mirror someone else needed to find. If you are looking for a safe harbor, know that our community is the sanctuary where fertile silence is shared and deepened. Enjoy the posts on the channel. And to continue expanding this field of presence, we suggest the video pinned in the card. May it be a source of inspiration on your journey. Peace and light.